Nobody wins when the family feels.
911, what's your emergency?
I just heard a ton of shots behind me.
I just heard shots fired.
It sounded like 10 gunshots.
It's a guy out here saying that he's just been shot.
April 7th, 2021. 911 calls for help flood into dispatch around midnight.
Things escalated so quickly.
For the first time, Travis Rudolph talks about the night he says 4 men showed up at his front door.
I just heard a loud bang, as if like the police was at the door.
In exclusive video, we can now see everything playing out on security cameras.
This all happened within seconds, so my brother was the first one to get to the door, so I was worried about his safety as well.
Who is it? Where Travis at? Travis at?
According to court records, Rudolph and his then-girlfriend, Dominique Jones, got into a fight earlier that night.
Open this door, bro, because this got me. Dominique, stop.
Who are you calling it, bruh?
Afterwards, she texted her brother, Keyshawn Jones. Evidence shows they both made threats towards Rudolph.
As soon as I came outside, literally, Tyler, he sucker punched me to my left eye. It was Tyler and Sebastian. It was kind of trying to corner me in. And Tyler, he had pulled out his firearm. And during that time, Tyler pulled out his firearm. Sebastian was like, you mess with the wrong girl, you're gonna die tonight. And then that's when I went back inside and grabbed my firearm.
The fight spilling out into the street. The video shows Rudolph then running off his property with an AR-15.
I had to do what I had to do, you know what I'm saying, to protect me and my family. My brother was on the ground getting jumped by 2 of those guys, getting kicked. So that's the reason why I went down the street. While they're all in their car, I see 2 firearms pointing at me and my brother. And I couldn't believe it. It's just a split decision where I just felt like it's either me and my brother or these guys that's, you know what I'm saying, gonna get hurt.
Rudolph firing 39 rounds, the 4 men speeding off.
I know people at home are gonna question, okay, he has an AR-15 and he fired 39 times. What's your explanation for that?
I can't even count how many times I shot, to be honest with you. I got fast reflexes, I play football. And on top of that, I felt like I had to keep shooting until the threat is no longer a threat anymore.
Did you realize you had shot somebody when that all happened?
No, I honestly didn't know I had shot anyone. And my heart sunk. I was just trying to get them away from me and my brother, from killing us, really.
Sebastian Jean Jacques was shot and killed. Tyler Robinson was also shot but survived. Keyshawn Jones and Christopher Lowe were not hurt.
Would you do anything differently?
It was a matter of life or death at that moment that I had shot. And I'll do the exact same thing if it came down to it.
Today, family, we're going to Florida, and we also going to court. But this question for the males. Family, how many times you heard a saying, females can get you? And this for the women and men. Family, how many times you heard, stay out of relationship problems? Here we have a prime example on why that's important. So we're not going to take too much time because we're going to court and see what's going on in trial as well. So before we get into this one, remember, I don't give you no angle. I just give you the story. So with that being said, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We're going to jump right to it. At only 27 years old, meet Travis Deontay James Rudolph, born September 15th, 1995. He was an American football wide receiver. He played college at Florida State University. He also played for the New York Giants and Miami Dolphins before getting arrested in 2021. Dominique Jones. In 2021, she was Travis' girlfriend, and she was also married to another man. In March of 2021, she had just had cosmetic surgery. A month after, she decided to go see her football boyfriend player back in LA. She had questions about the status of their relationship, being as if though they didn't see each other for over a month. They end up going to a liquor store before going back to Travis' mom's house to chill. He ended up calling her a B that's caught on the Ring camera at the mom house, which made her flash and start to hit on Travis. One thing led to another. They end up getting into a scuffle outside the front yard. Moments later, Dominique would call her brother and 4 associates. They would then, in midnight, come to this man's house, also with a firearm. One thing led to another. 2 people were shot, and 1 person ended up losing his life. All a part of Dominique's crew who came to the house later. Sebastian Jones lost his life, may he rest in peace. Now the trial is pretty much over. We're just waiting for the verdict. During the first week, we heard from Dominique and also the person she texted before calling the 4 men to pull up to Travis' mom's house. Now the thing is this, family. Of course, we in Florida would just stand your ground. These men came to his house, but he charged with M1 because someone lost his life after firing over 30 shots. Based on the information you guys about to hear, at the conclusion, I need you guys to let me know, should a verdict be not guilty or guilty? Shout out to Law and Crime for giving the public access to this court trial. The first witness you're gonna hear from is Dominique. Check it out.
Jones, did you eventually make your way to Mr. Rudolph's residence on April 6, 2021?
Yes.
And what was the intention when you went over there? What was the purpose of meeting up?
I just missed him. I haven't seen him in a while. It's been a month, and that's basically what it was.
Okay. And was it still your intention that you two would be going to the movies that night?
Yeah.
Okay. Approximately what time in the day did you get there? Was it still light outside?
Yeah, it was still light. The movie was around like 8 or 9 or something. So I got there probably around like 5, 6.
Okay. And when you got there, was Mr. Rudolph home?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
And what about his other relatives? Was his brother Daryl present?
No one was there, just me and him.
Okay. Did there come a point that you left the residence and went to a store?
Yes, we went to the liquor store by his house.
And what did you purchase from that location, if you recall?
I bought a liquor. I'm not exactly sure which one it was, but we bought a bottle of liquor. I purchased it.
Okay. So you purchased the item. And actually, I want to pause here a little bit to talk about the financial situation in your relationship.
Of course.
Was Mr. Rudolph financially supporting you at this point in your relationship?
Since the day I met him, he has never financially supported me.
So you have always supported yourself?
1,000%.
Okay. And Mr. Rudolph, you mentioned that he was living with his mother. Did he have a separate residence of his own?
No. So
every time you would spend time over with Mr. Rudolph, it would be at Linda Rudolph's residence?
Correct, because he didn't have his own place.
Okay. And you said on this particular day you purchased the liquor, the item that you wanted that day, correct?
Correct.
All right. So take us to what happened after the purchase of the liquor. Did you return back to the Rudolph residence?
Yes.
And were things, how were things with
Good. Like, we were just laughing, happy. You know, I haven't seen him. He hasn't seen me. He missed me. I missed him. Everything was good, like, when we actually got back to the house.
I need to ask you, prior to this day, was your relationship plagued by any accusations of cheating or infidelity at all?
I kind of felt that way just because he was in Miami for so long. And obviously I had my surgery. I had to be home. So I did kind of feel like I didn't know where we stood, even though, you know, someone can tell you something, but I kind of felt like I didn't really know where we stood at.
So you were getting the I love yous, but you weren't sure if he was actually committed?
Correct.
Got it. Did you try to have a conversation with Mr. Rudolph about that, the insecurity that you were feeling?
That was prior to me coming to his house. So that was like the text messages prior, the phone calls prior. When he's in Miami and I'm at home, I would like ask him questions like, what are you doing on there for so long? Things like that. You're not coming to see me. I just had surgery. You know, regular girlfriend questions I would ask and stuff like that. But that day, it really wasn't any issues. Like, we were happy to see each other. We were just vibing at the beginning.
Okay. So after you come back from the liquor store, do you enter the residence? And if so, what do you do inside?
Yeah, so we come into the residence and like we like to play Uno. Like, we're competitive, so we started playing. Yeah, it's a game. It's a card game.
Okay.
So we're like, oh, let's play Uno for shots. So like, correct. I took a couple, but I was winning overall 100%.
Okay. Did there come a point where Mr. Rudolph left the bedroom and left his cell phone behind?
So at this point in time, we're in the living room playing Uno, and Daryl pulls up, his brother. So when he pulled up, his phone was on the couch, and he went outside.
By him, you mean Travis's phone?
Correct.
And tell us a little bit about the relationship at that point. Was it the kind of situation where, actually, let me back up a little bit. Did Mr. Rudolph have a password to his cell phone?
Yes.
And was it the kind of relationship where he had shared that password with you?
Months ago.
So you did know his password?
Correct. I had it in my notes. That's how I got his phone.
Okay, so on the day of this incident, when you entered Mr. Rudolph's phone, that was as a result of this trust relationship where he had offered that password?
Yes. A couple months prior to that, when I was feeling like, oh, I want to be in a relationship and things like that. And he's like, all right. And we started establishing like we were going to be in a relationship. He gave me the passcode to his phone.
Okay. So on April 6th of 2021, when you entered the phone, it was with the password that you had already received.
Correct.
And up until that point, your belief is that you're in this committed relationship and you're happy with your man. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair to say. Even if you go through ups and downs or you're uncertain, I still believe like we're together and, you know, things happen. But yeah, I'm still committed 100%.
Why did you enter Mr. Rudolph's phone?
Because I felt uncertainty for that whole month I didn't see him.
So it was your impression at that point that if he's not seeing you, he might be seeing someone else?
Correct.
Got it. When you entered Mr. Rudolph's phone with the passcode that he had provided you, did you see anything that caused you concern for your relationship?
Yes.
And what did you see?
I seen stuff.
I know you might not want to get into the details because obviously this is very personal, but did you see evidence of cheating?
Yes.
Are we talking about text messages, videos, other things?
Everything.
And how did that make you feel?
At that point, I'm just like, all right, it's time for me to go. So I went into the room to go grab my things. And when I went to go grab my things, he had came back into the house and seen, because his phone was laid out, and seen that I went through his phone.
And how was that interaction when you realized that you had actually seen the evidence of the infidelity?
So after I seen that, I went into his room because I had like a bag that I had in his room. I picked up the bag and I started trying to walk out. And then he's like, no, you're not going anywhere. Like, we're going to talk about it.
Fair to say at this point, Ms. Jones, that you were upset about the fact that your boyfriend was cheating.
I was upset, but you guys have to understand, it's been a month that I haven't really seen him. It's been a month that like I kind of already had accusations in my head. So like I was upset, but I was more hurt, not like upset as in angry. It was just more hurt. Like, let me just leave. Like at this point, if this is what you want to do, I'm just going to go.
Okay. So did you communicate that with Mr. Rudolph that you wanted to leave his residence?
1,000,000 times.
And what do you mean by that? I know 1,000,000 is obviously an exaggeration, but were you repeatedly communicating that?
I'm telling him, I'm going home. Let me leave. Let me get my stuff. I'm going home.
Why did you have to say it so many times?
Because he's blocking me from the door.
So at this point, you're in his bedroom?
Correct.
And he's standing at the doorway to exit the bedroom?
At first, he wasn't standing at the doorway. He had put me like in the corner kind of, and he was standing in front of me. So I'm like telling him like, back up, I'm leaving. Like, and he's like, I want to talk. And I'm like, there's nothing to talk about. So then he got up, he moved out of my face. And then that's when I grabbed the trophy and I said, I'll hit you with the trophy if you don't get out of my face. And he was like, you know what? You good? Walk out. And then I ended up being able to walk out of the room.
Okay. So when you grabbed the trophy, I assume that's something that belonged to Mr. Rudolph.
Yes.
Okay. And you picked it up in a sort of threatening way to try to get him out of your way. Is that what you're testifying?
Correct.
All right. Did you actually hit him with the trophy at that point?
No. Not hit him with a trophy at all.
So essentially, when you armed yourself with the trophy and threatened, he gave in. He said you could leave.
Yeah, he said I could leave.
Okay. So did you attempt to leave the residence at that point?
Yeah, I was grabbing my stuff and I started walking out. And then that's when the name calling and the altercation started to occur.
All right. So I know it's been some time since this happened, but as much as you can recall, what was being said by Mr. Rudolph? I know it's embarrassing, but
No, just disrespectful things. It's just disrespectful. That's it. I'm just going to leave it at that. He just said disrespectful things to me, got in my face, calling me the B word, and just being disrespectful. More of the story.
So when you say disrespectful, was he comparing you to other women?
It could be that, yes.
Could it be that or not? The jury just sort of needs to know what's happening, right?
Comparing me to other women, trying to lower my self-esteem because I just had surgery, and
it was cosmetic, right? This wasn't like heart surgery.
It was cosmetic. Yes, it was cosmetic surgery.
And so he was picking on that fact that you had done cosmetic surgery?
Correct.
Okay. And you said he was calling you the B word. I assume the B word.
Calling me a bitch, telling me get the fuck out. Your Honor, I'm sorry. I don't know if I'm allowed to curse or not.
If that's what he said, then yes.
Okay, calling me a bitch, get the fuck out my house. Like, I don't fucking like you anyway. Like, just back to back to back to back to back. And at this point, I'm walking out, like, going to the door, like, leaving. I'm saying things, too. I'm not going to sit here and act like I didn't say anything back. I'm saying stuff back to him, too. But the initial start of the whole argument was him.
Okay. I assume...
I wasn't becoming angry until we got outside. And it started getting, like, a little bit more physical. That's when I started getting angry. I more so was just like, let me just get my stuff and leave. And whatever, if we're gonna call names, we're gonna call names, whatever. But like, I didn't really get that upset until we got outside and it started getting a little bit physical.
So tell us about that physical interaction outside. What led to you going from inside, him cursing at you, you cursing back, to being outside?
So my whole point after I seen his phone was to leave. So I'm walking out to leave. So it's not like just like have to leave his room, go through the living room, and then go through the walkway. So during this entire time, he's yelling, screaming in my face, calling me this, calling me that. So once we get outside, I'm going to be 100% honest. I can't remember exactly how everything went down. You guys have the footage, so I'm not sure exactly how everything played out.
So did there come a point where it became physical to the point where you were physically hit by Mr. Rudolph or manhandled in some way?
Correct.
And can you tell us if, as a result of that, you were put on the ground?
Correct.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
How did that make you feel?
I was furious.
Okay. And why?
Because his brother's yelling, telling him to stop, chill. Like, he sees how erratic and how crazy he's acting over literally me leaving the house. So yeah, I started getting furious and I started putting my hands back on him.
So after being put on the ground by Mr. Rudolph, did there come a point, like you said, that you were physically hitting him back?
Yeah.
And were you hitting him back in response to things that he was saying?
Not even things that he was saying. He was telling me to get my things out of his house. Like, he's like, get all that shit you bought, get it out of my house or whatever. So I'm trying to walk into the house to get my stuff, and he's like trying to block me. So I started hitting him, like, move, like, let me get my stuff so I can go home. And you can even hear his brother saying, like, let her get her stuff so she can leave, like telling me to leave at that point.
All right. So I'm gonna, with the court's permission, start publishing now States 32.
All right.
Yes.
And is that you?
Yes.
And it looks like you're on your cell phone and having a conversation. Was that with Mr. Rudolph or someone else?
I'm not sure.
If you could play it for us.
No. I don't know who I was talking to. I'm going to be honest.
To the question.
Oh.
Does that refresh your recollection as to whether or not that's Mr. Rudolph on the other end of the phone?
I can't call if that's him or not.
All right, let's go to the next clip, please. Yeah. So what has happened here? Why are you loitering in the front?
I don't know. I think I'm waiting for him. I don't know.
Okay, so you would have been ringing the doorbell or something?
Yeah, I think I'm waiting for him to open the door.
And at this point in the day, nothing has happened yet as far as this argument between the two of you that got physical, correct?
No, nothing's happened. And I guess that's Travis opening the door.
So it sounds like you were giving another woman some advice.
Yeah. Probably on the phone with one of my homegirls, and I'm talking to her, and then yeah.
Okay. All right. So at some point, the door is open, and you said that was by Mr. Rudolph?
Yeah. Yes.
The next clip, please. Is that Mr. Rudolph?
Yes.
After or before the liquor store?
That's us coming back from the liquor store.
That you were actually putting your hands on Mr. Rudolph.
Yeah, I said it.
And in this clip that we're watching, was that in direct response to him calling you a bitch?
Correct.
Okay. If you could let it play. All right. These two gentlemen who are in the frame right now, caught them in movement, so it's a little blurry, but can you tell who's who?
That's Daryl trying to hold Travis back. That's me trying to go in there and get the rest of my things. And that's Travis being erratic.
So before this, if we could back it up a little bit to what happened on the lawn of the Rudolph residence with yourself and Mr. Rudolph Travis.
He slams me to the ground.
Okay. And is that what you're talking about? His brother is trying to hold him back and pull him off?
Correct. He's saying, I don't know if you have another clip. In another clip, he's saying, stop, like you're tripping.
Right. Keep going. That's what you're talking about, the stop and the pushing him?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. Can we see the next video, please? Is that Daryl?
Yes.
Now tell us, are you still inside the Rudolph residence at this point?
No.
Continue. It looks like Mr. Rudolph just picked up a brick. What happened there with that brick? Do you remember ever having that in your possession?
I was throwing things that could have been in my possession. After I got slammed, I got very, very, very upset. So that is something that could possibly have been in my possession.
All right. Is one of the things that you threw his cell phone?
Yes, that was way before all of this.
So this was inside the residence?
Correct. This is when I first went through the phone and everything, and in his room is when I threw the cell phone.
Was this throwing it at him as you're accusing him of the cheating, or sometime after?
No, I just knew there was videos and things like that of me and him and his phone, so I just threw it because I was like, I was done.
Okay. You mean intimate videos?
Yeah, of me and him. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Now, in this next witness, you're going to hear from the man that was texted by Dominique. He was on the stand for over 4 hours. I managed to break it down. It's about 45 minutes. If you guys want to check the whole 4 hours out, you guys should go over to Law and Crime. but check it out.
Members of the jury, what you do for a living?
I work security, and I'm a student full-time.
So you are both a security, is it officer? How does that work? What's the term?
Yeah, so you have to get a security license, and then you basically work as a 1099 contractor, wherever you can.
All right, you're so soft-spoken. I just have to make sure you pull the microphone just a little bit closer.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, so you're explaining that you work as a security guard.
Correct.
Okay. And you said in order to do that, you had to get a license. What kind of license?
Security, a D license to work initially, and then a security G license to work while armed.
Okay. So the D license is without a firearm, and the G license is with a firearm.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you have the G license?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What about, you said something about being a student as well. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Tell us about that. What are you doing in school?
I just previously graduated, or recently graduated, with my AS Associate of Science in Paralegal Studies, and I'm currently pursuing my bachelor's in Legal Studies with a minor in Political Science.
You want to be a lawyer?
It's not currently my plans. Currently my goal is just graduating, but it's not completely out of the picture.
How old are you?
I'm 23.
And so back in April of 2021, you would have been 21 years old?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to take you a little bit back in time to when you first met Keyshawn Jones. Do you recognize that person by name?
Yes, ma'am.
Approximately when did you meet him? Whereabouts in schooling were you?
I met Keyshawn in sixth grade. I'm sorry, not sixth grade. I met Keyshawn in 8th grade. We met in gym class playing basketball.
And would you say that your relationship with Mr. Jones got to the point where you were friends?
Yeah, that's like my brother. That's my closest friend.
So you'd characterize him then as your best friend, and I heard you say brother.
Best friends, brothers, yeah.
Did there ever come a point during the course of your friendship that you lived with Mr. Jones?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us a little bit about how long you were living with him, and were you living with him and his family?
Correct. This was later on, starting in high school, around about 10th grade summer, going into our junior year. I was no longer able to stay at home, so Keyshawn's mother and his family opened their doors to me and allowed me to stay with Keyshawn until we
And what high school were you going to at the time?
I went to Palm Beach Central High School.
And your family moved to a different county, is that right?
Port St. Lucie, I believe.
Port St. Lucie?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's...
And so how was it that you were able to stay in that school? Is it by living with Mr. Jones?
That was the only way I could continue to go there. I wasn't actually able, I was no longer eligible to go to that school because I wasn't zoned for that district based on my mother's home residential address. So I was actually going to be moved to a different school much further away. So just to prevent that from happening and just so I could stay with my friends, my mom and his mom allowed me to stay at his house for a little while.
So this wasn't because you were having any issues with your family?
There was some issues at home, but ultimately his mom and my mom just had a conversation, I guess, and just came to the agreement that it was best for everyone if I could just stay with Keyshawn, finish our schooling together.
While you were living with Mr. Jones, you mentioned that his family was also in the home. Who exactly was living there?
Keyshawn, his mother, his sister Dominique, his brother Antoine lived there. briefly, and towards the end of us living there, his stepfather as well, I believe.
Would you characterize the relationship that developed to become more close-knit, like a family?
Correct.
How long were you living with the Joneses?
I would say I was living there for like a year and a half, maybe close to 2 years.
Okay. So obviously we've already talked about how close you were with Mr. Jones. What about his sister, Dominique?
Yeah, that's like my sister.
Did you view her in that way, like she was your sister?
Yeah, actually, I would say, a better relationship with her than I do my own actual blood sister. So yeah, I consider her a sister. We have a good relationship.
Okay. And what about someone by the name of Sebastian Jean Jacques? How did you know that person?
Sebastian was also a good friend of mine. We met the first year of high school, so at Palm Beach Central. That was also like my best friend.
Anybody else in this tighter group of you, Keyshawn, Dominique, and Sebastian?
Not necessarily. We have a good friend named Landon. That's about it.
What about Chris? When did he become a part of the group?
This is gonna be later into high school, closer to. I've known Chris my whole life, actually, since elementary school. So he's been kind of just a friend of mine, not as close as I would say as me and Keyshawn or me and Sebastian were at the time, but going later on in high school, around I would say really closer to graduation, going to prom and stuff like that. Okay. I would say all of us developed a close relationship, and that's when, though I've known Chris since elementary school, when we graduated high school, we started hanging out more on an everyday basis, like Sebastian and Keyshawn and I were.
Okay. Had you ever met someone by the name of Travis Rudolph?
Not physically in person, no, but I was introduced to him on like FaceTime as Dominique's boyfriend at the time.
Okay. So you were close enough with Dominique that you knew who she was dating?
Correct.
And you knew Dominique had been married previous to her relationship with Mr. Rudolph, is that correct?
Yes.
And were you aware of whether or not she and her husband were still living together as a couple or still together as a couple by the time she started a relationship with Mr. Rudolph?
I believe they were legally married, but I think they were separated. I don't think they were together, living together, seeing each other, anything like that.
Okay. I want to take you to the night of this incident. So let's start with the April 6th of 2021. Do you recall receiving a call from Dominique on that day?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And did she advise you about anything that had happened between herself and her then boyfriend, Travis Rudolph?
Yes.
How did that make you feel?
Upset, confused.
Okay. You said upset and confused. I'll take them one at a time. What was upsetting?
Upsetting, just what she was telling me and how upset she was. When someone you care about is that emotional, regardless of what the situation is, it's going to make you upset also for someone you truly care about. So.
And you did truly care about them?
Correct.
Did you know anything about a surgery that she had done recently?
Yeah, she just had cosmetic surgery, and that also maybe played into effect, or that may have also been one of the reasons why it did make me upset, because just the days before that and stuff, she was in such a I would say, like, vulnerable state. And just after you have any surgery, you're just weak, regardless of what the surgery is. So I just saw her in a much, like, weaker and vulnerable state. So
you also said confusion. Explain that for us.
just confused because I was under the impression that this was like I don't know the relationship well enough to call it a healthy relationship, but a normal functioning relationship. So when someone calls you that upset, telling you that something like this has happened, it's obviously a bit confusing at first.
Okay. So you thought they didn't have this type of relationship. So when you heard that, that was confusing.
Correct.
Got it. So did you call other people? Did you call any of your friends to let them know what you'd been told by Ms. Jones?
Yes, ma'am. I called Keyshawn initially just to touch base with him, and because that's his actual sister, so I was assuming he spoke to her. Then I also called next, I believe I called Chris Lowe. He was at home. I'm not sure what he was doing, working out or something. He was sleeping, I think. He said he was getting in the shower or something like that. So he was going to come over.
Meaning come over to where you lived?
Come to my house, just at my own house.
By this time, you weren't living with the Joneses anymore. You had your own place.
Yes, I had my own place with the roommate, though.
What about Sebastian? Did you call him as well?
Yeah, I called Sebastian a few times, I believe. He was, I think he was at Flanagan's, or he was doing something like that, and he said he had to go home first, and then he was going to come over.
So the plan was then for everybody to come to your residence. Is that correct? That they would be coming over to your apartment that you shared with someone else?
Correct.
Who got to your residence first, if you recall?
I remember, I think it was Chris or Sebastian, one of them two, because we were waiting for Keyshawn last.
So when everybody was together, did you get the impression that you all were going to go to anywhere after leaving your apartment?
Yes, to speak with Travis.
Did you know where Mr. Rudolph lived at the time?
I didn't. I knew the area, but like specifically how to get there and stuff. I wasn't exactly sure. That's why we were waiting.
This courtroom today does not show him having problems loading the gun.
I wouldn't say that video was of clear enough quality for me to see directly if he was or wasn't having trouble loading the gun, but I can tell you from my personal experience.
10 times I'm asking about the video. If you didn't know, you don't know. That's okay.
Sticking to the video, it wasn't of clear enough quality of me to see that he was or wasn't struggling, so I don't know, sir.
Okay. You went to the shooting range with who? Keyshawn before?
I've been to the shooting range with Keyshawn before.
Keyshawn Jones carries a gun pretty much wherever he goes. Isn't that true?
I'm not Keyshawn. I couldn't tell you.
His best friend, his brother. You lived with him. You guys will do anything for each other. You don't know that?
It's not like a long period of us even carrying firearms. We were under the age to legally carry them, and then when we were of age, we didn't have them very long, and then now currently it's kind of just a disinterest in them altogether.
Right?
We're brothers, of course.
Carries his gun wherever he goes to this day. Isn't that true?
I am not sure whether or not he carries his gun. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We're busy a lot, and with school, we go to different schools, so it's not like I'm with him every second and every day.
Okay. You not only practiced with that Taurus 9mm that you dumped in this case, you also shot a Glock before, right?
Keyshawn owns a Glock that I shot at the gun range before.
It didn't ask you who owned it. I'm just asking if you shot a Glock before.
Sustained. You did get the answer, however. Next question.
You also shot an FN firearm before, right?
Correct.
What's an FN firearm? What's that?
It's just like a brand. There's different brands of firearms, so that was actually my first time shooting a gun. I went to the gun range with a friend, and that was the brand of gun that he owned.
What caliber is it?
Believe the same as most handguns, 9mm, with the size of the rounds in reference to the caliber.
Okay. So you were trained as a security guard and also trained by going to the shooting range multiple times, right?
I went a few times, and I was only the security course was just one day, so I wouldn't say I was proficient enough to say I'm an expert or anything like that, but I had some training.
Is it your testimony you never spoke to Mr. Jones or Mr. Chris Lowe before you spoke to Detective Vanderlyn? You gave her a tape statement the following day when you were released from the hospital. Is that your testimony?
I spoke with them briefly. They were the ones who told me Sebastian passed away.
Spoke to them on FaceTime?
Correct.
Chris was actually at your hospital room, Chris Lowe, right?
Yeah, that was the first person who came to see me.
Before you spoke with Detective Vanderlyn, correct?
He did come to see me before I spoke with Detective Vanderlyn, yes, sir.
Right. Dominique Jones was also in the hospital before you spoke to Detective Vanderlyn, too. Isn't that true?
Yeah, she was the one who was holding the phone when Keyshawn and Chris came on FaceTime and told me Sebastian passed away.
You never told any of the police officers, I'm talking the first responders who found you. Were you sitting up or you don't remember when they found you?
I believe I was sitting upright just because I was trying to keep pressure on my wound.
Okay. You never told the first responding police officers. How many were there? 2? Do you remember a couple of them?
A couple or a few, you could say.
Okay. You never told them or the paramedics or the detective that took your statement in the middle of the night the following after surgery, or you never told Detective Vanderlyn the following day that Dominique told you and Keyshawn to go shoot his shit up. Isn't that correct?
Correct, sir. It was in text. There was no need for me to tell. They had our phones. They were bound to see it.
Did you tell him or not?
No, sir.
Why not?
I was focused otherwise on my gunshot wounds.
All the police officers I spoke about, anytime, you never told them your brother Keyshawn texted first, actually, before Dominique did, texted first that Travis is a dead man walking before you went over to his house, right? Never told any law enforcement that, did you? Ever?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Somebody's phone, sorry, I got distracted.
No problem. My question is, do you agree that you never told any law enforcement officers to this day, and I'm talking police officers, people who wear uniforms, have badges, have guns, that Keyshawn texted first before Dominique responded, and you got the text because you were in the group text. You never told anyone that Keyshawn texted that my client, Travis Rudolph, was a dead man walking, right?
That was an extremely long question, sir.
Did you ever tell anyone that anybody in law enforcement that let me just break it down for you. You spoke to multiple police officers, right?
Correct.
Many times.
Various times throughout this whole 2-year process I have.
You never told a single police officer who has a badge or a uniform ever that your friend Keyshawn texted Travis as a dead man walking, right?
It was common knowledge already.
I didn't ask if it was common knowledge. How do you know it's common knowledge? How do you know that?
I don't. You're right, I don't.
How do you know that?
You're right, I don't.
You're under oath. Why are you saying things that you don't know?
Just making an inference or an assumption. I am under oath, but I'm still allowed to make assumptions. It's
Well,
my personal opinion.
how many other assumptions you been making to this jury?
Well, when I make an assumption, I say so, as I just did. And when I'm giving you justification for my answer, I tell you as I am. So I don't understand where there's room for confusion on that. You seem to be confused. I don't know that anyone else
I'm
is.
not confused. You didn't answer my question. Can you answer my question, please?
The question was so long, I didn't get a chance to answer it. And we got an...
Last time, and if you don't want to answer, I'll move on.
Okay.
No problem.
Yes, sir.
You never told any police officers. You know what police officers are?
Yes, I know what law enforcement officers
Remember I said they're wearing badges or uniforms and have guns usually?
Correct.
You understand so far?
Yes.
Not confused.
No, not currently.
You know who Keyshawn is, right?
Yes, I know Keyshawn is.
And you know he texted you and Dominique that Travis is a dead man walking on his phone to your phone and her phone, right?
Right.
You with me so far?
Yes.
You never, ever, to this day, spoke to a cop about that. You never told him that, right?
I believe I've had that discussion with Detective Vanderland about the contents of our messages, what may have been said, but I was told that things said with no action behind them are just more or less empty threats.
Am I asking about what they meant to you? Did I ask you that, sir?
No, I'm explaining the conversation I had.
I'm asking the simple question. Did you tell that to law enforcement that your brother made that statement that my client is a dead man walking?
I just answered that question, sir. You weren't listening.
I couldn't understand it. Did you say Detective Vanderland?
I did.
Maybe or yes?
I know. I said Detective Vanderland. There was no maybe.
Okay. May I approach the witness?
Hey.
Show your transcript of your audio statement on April 8th, 2021 at 6:46 p.m. Go through it as long as you need and tell us where it is that you told Detective Vanderland that Keyshawn Jones sent a message, Travis is a dead man walking.
Sure. Feel free to stand up and stretch, ladies and gentlemen.
Este es Saúl.
Okay, Mr. Robinson, have you had a chance to look through that?
Yes, sir. It's
Okay, great.
very long.
Go ahead. Mr. Shiner, go ahead and ask your next question.
You never told Detective Vanderlyn during that interview on April 8th, 2021, that Keyshawn made that statement we just talked about multiple times, right?
Correct.
You have another formal interview with Detective Vanderlyn?
No, sir, I don't believe so.
You ever call her on the phone and say, hey, detective, I forgot to tell you this. There was this nonsensical statement my friend made about Travis is a dead man walking. You never did that.
No, sir.
You never told Detective Vanderlyn or any police officers that Dominique made this statement to go chew this shit up, right?
No, sir.
You didn't want anyone to know that, right?
I guess you could say neutral position on that. I didn't really care or not whether people knew that because that's not necessarily what occurred.
Neutral about those facts? That's premeditated murder if you guys would have killed Mr. Rudolph.
But no one was doing that. No one was trying to do that.
Because you guys got surprised that his mother came out the door. Isn't that true?
No, his mom was not outside for quite a while. It was just us and him and his brother, so.
You got surprised his brother came out, right?
I don't live at his home, or I don't go there often, so I'm, like I told you, or I'm not sure if it was you or the initial.
My question is, were you surprised, yes or no? Well, I don't know.
Surprised by?
By the brother coming out. Were you surprised that the brother came out? Yes, no, or I don't know?
Like I was saying, I don't know who lives with the residents, so that's not really of much surprise to me. Who would come out of the door first? I don't go there, and I don't live there. So if you go somewhere you don't go often or haven't been often, and someone comes out of the door, you're not necessarily expecting it to be any particular person because that's not a place that you visit often.
You were expecting Travis to come out, weren't you, sir?
That's who we went there to speak with, so.
Shirt off to fight with Travis Rudolph, not Mrs. Rudolph or Mr. Rudolph named Daryl Rudolph, right?
I didn't necessarily take my shirt off to fight with anybody.
Okay, because it was a hot summer night.
It wasn't hot. You actually said it was cold, but I don't know what the temperature was. It was 2 years ago, spring of 2021. I'm not a meteorologist. I don't.
Okay. You know Travis Rudolph had firearms, didn't you, sir? Before you went to his home.
I did not know that he had firearms at his home, no.
Okay. Dominique never discussed with you her personal relationship with Travis Rudolph, did she, sir?
No, sir.
Never told you if they were going to get married or she was upset that he was going to Winnipeg to play in the CFL. She never told you about that, did she?
No, sir.
Did she tell you she was upset because the last month Travis Rudolph was in Miami and she was concerned that he was cheating on her? Did she tell you anything like that?
No, sir.
Never told you about her sex life with Mr. Rudolph, did she?
No, sir.
So because she tells you she was slammed, that's when you decide to call your friends to go over Mr. Rudolph's home, right?
Correct.
You don't even know Mr. Rudolph, did you?
I didn't know him well, no, sir.
You know him or not?
Didn't know him well.
I don't understand that. Did you know him or not know him? Did you ever meet him?
Physically, no. On FaceTime.
Okay.
A few times.
Did you guys go to a gun show together?
No, sir. I wasn't there.
Huh? When the detective spoke with you, and you probably have the statement in front of you, that would have been on April 8th of 2021, you signed a medical release at that time, didn't you? Or to get your records?
Correct.
You don't know when she got them, do you?
I'm sorry.
You don't know when the detective got your records, do you?
No, I have no clue when she got my records. No clue.
Okay. Dominique never called you about any of her relationship with Mr. Rudolph other than this night, right?
No, sir. I don't believe so.
Right? Isn't it true your phone was in the front door pocket of the car?
No. I believe it was in the trunk.
Remember, you guessing? You shrugging your shoulders. Is it a guess or you know that for a fact?
I can't really remember where exactly my phone was to tell you for sure, but it was in the car somewhere.
Why'd you tell the jury it was in the trunk earlier if you didn't remember? That was your words.
I do believe it was in the trunk, but it seems like you're trying to tell me it was in the door pocket, so I'm trying to tell you, sir, I can't tell you exactly where it was, and I just didn't have it on my person. It was in the vehicle, out of my possession.
You saw that video a little while ago. Remember the video?
Yes, sir.
Actually opened the front door and put something in the car, right?
Probably, sir. I wasn't watching for that.
You just saw it. You don't remember that?
I when you played the video, I wasn't asked to look for that particularly, so.
May.
I'll show you what's been marked as defense exhibit number 12. 1-2. Ask if you recognize this. Recognize it? You talking to Mike, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Defense would offer into evidence. Well, how do you recognize it?
It's a cell phone.
Your cell phone, right?
From this view, I can't tell whose cell phone it is. It's just more or less the silhouette of a cell phone, or the shadow, or it's a awkwardly took picture.
All right, I'll show you some more. Do me a favor, turn that picture.
Sorry, folks, we're going to have to take a break. I have to review this right now, and I got to be able to pay attention. So it shouldn't take me more.
We were there to do what we wanted to do.
You confused?
Yeah. We were there to do what we wanted to do. I don't really understand what kind of question that is.
Let me show you defense number 5. The guy with the tattoos, no shirt on, obviously that's you, right?
Correct.
Did you know you took your shirt off? You didn't know, or you forgot?
Probably forgot a series of events.
Okay. Obviously the guy with the hoodie is still Kashawn, right?
Right.
And the guy in the back with his arms folded, that is Sebastian, right?
Right.
And the guy behind him, do you see somebody else?
Yeah, you can see Chris, just barely.
And this is before anyone came out of the house, right?
Right.
Go back to this exhibit number 5. You agree that's Sebastian with the arms folded, right?
Yes, sir.
This is defense number 5.
All right.
Sebastian left his phone in the car, right?
I believe so. He may have had it in his pocket.
Pardon me?
May have had it in his pocket.
You testified you left it in the car earlier, didn't you?
I believe he did. I don't know exactly.
In the trunk. Isn't that what you said?
Well, we put our stuff in the trunk. That's where I put my phone. Couldn't tell you particularly where he put his phone. As you told me, my phone wasn't even in the trunk. My phone was in the side door. So.
Oh, you agreed and said that your phone was in the side door.
Right. As the evidence showed, it was in the side door. So I'm telling you, don't ask me the positions and locations of whose phone was or what. I don't know, sir.
Isn't it true you said Sebastian's phone was in the car, whether it was in the trunk or anywhere else? You said it was left in the car. Isn't that true? Yes or no?
Today? You're asking me if I made that statement today?
Today or any day.
I can't really remember, sir. I'm sorry.
You didn't say that earlier on direct examination? Keyshawn and Sebastian put their phones in the trunk or in the car?
Probably. I don't know, sir.
Oh, probably. All right. You know Keyshawn has something in the pocket because you see this picture, right?
Yep.
Not his phone, right?
No, I'm answering, yup, I see the picture. I don't see Keyshawn's pocket at all. I can't
Not Keyshawn, Sebastian. Thank you for correcting me, sir.
There's something in Sebastian's pocket. I can't tell you what that is, sir.
Not his phone, right?
Could be his phone, could be his keys, could be a watch, wallet, socks, could be anything, sir.
My question was, it's not his phone. Isn't that true, sir? It's not his phone. Not Sebastian's phone.
I can't definitively tell you what is in his pocket for me to tell you whether or not it is his phone. I can't tell you what's in his pocket, sir. I don't know.
You know his phone's in the car.
I don't know if his phone's in the car.
Why'd you testify to that? Why are you backtracking now? Because now you see something in his pocket and you know we got a problem because his gun's in his pocket and not his phone? Is that why you're saying that, sir?
No, sir. Not at all. I could care less what you think is in his pocket. I don't
care what the jury thinks either, right? You don't care what anyone thinks.
I care what a lot of people think. More or less, I don't care for the image you're trying to paint. If you want to say there's something in his pocket, if you want to say there's something in the car, if you want to say this or that or whatever, Mark, I quite honestly could care less at this point. I've been here all day, so I'm more or less worried about getting home. My back hurts a lot right now. This is just, we're far from the point. What are you getting at?
Getting at the truth. Are you okay with that? You need a break? Maybe ask the judge. You want to ask the judge for a break?
Oh, you needed the potty break, Mark, not me. I'm good.
My name is Mark. We know each other personally.
Is that not your first name?
All right, it is time for a break. We'll take a 10-minute restroom break.
As you can see,
before
this lasted the entire day Friday, which means even after a Memorial Day weekend, the trial will resume next week. Now, based on the information, before we even get the verdict, fam, how do you guys feel? Is this man held responsible just as much as Travis? Was Travis being self-defense? Let me know, because I'm a little lost on how he really got an M1 case, especially in a stand your ground state and someone coming to your house with the firearm. Let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this one. Rest in peace to the victim and love and condolences to the family. Fam, I'll catch you guys on the next one.